When I got together with the York family recently, everything seemed pretty normal. Hannah and her older brother Mason were practicing their karate chops on each other. And Mom and Dad were trying to keep them from getting too crazy.
Okay, no more karate chops, please.
But back in January of 2003, when Hannah came into this world, it all turned upside down for the York family.
When she was delivered, she came out and about 80% of her left leg was open. It looked immediately like a birthmark.
It looked like the skin had...
From the knee down, well, at first it looked like a birthmark from the knee down. Within a minute or so being exposed to the air, it began to bleed. And so we knew immediately there was something wrong. Heather delivered at Harris Methodist in Fort Worth, a pretty big hospital there. And when the nurses, their jaws just dropped, and the doctor, no one knew what it was. And immediately they went to suction out Hannah's mouth, and the skin started sloughing off in her mouth.
Hannah was born with EB, a rare genetic disease where the body doesn't produce type 7 collagen. Hannah's mom, Heather, has a great way of explaining what EB is.
The way I describe it is your skin is like the grass in your backyard. There's two layers. You have the top layer, which is kind of like the grass, it's called the epidermis, and then you have the layer underneath, which is called the dermis, which is kind of like the soil. And in between the two layers, grass has roots to hold it into the soil, just like the epidermis has roots to hold it into the dermis. And Hannah is missing those roots. So her skin doesn't adhere to each other like Velcro or anything like that. It just separates very easily.
The doctors in Texas sat down with Heather and Jason and gave them the prognosis that they did not want to hear.
We're told that what it was, how it would be affecting her, the pain that she would live throughout her life, how we would cause the most pain in her life, and that really within a month of dealing with her that we would probably know more than most doctors as far as changing her, handling her, doing her daily bandage changes, bath, etc. And let us know that the percentages of kids that what it looked like as far as I believe not specific data, but it I think he said 50% of kids die at early adolescence, 10, 12 years old, either from severe infection or cancer from the continual scarring of the skin and the carcinogenics that build up through that process.
Heather and Jason were told that Hannah would live a very painful life. They were told their new baby would probably not survive to adulthood.
We bandage her up like a little football player, and there's many times with birthday pictures and stuff, Heather would have her all dressed up in a dress and ready to go, and she'd be learning to walk, and she did a lot of her damage. It's mostly all self-inflicted, but she'd be, kind of learning to stand next to the couch, and she'd slip, and she'd tear skin off her face, and we'd cancel the pictures and wait a week or so or two until it would heal, and then we'd go back and reschedule.
And then, in 2008, when Hannah was now 5, some new information came out about EB, some information that offered hope.
Heather's stepmother found an article one night. We had gone out to dinner, and she was babysitting the kids, and it was in June, and not this June, June of 2008, and she just happened to turn to the 4th page in the Star Telegram and saw something about genetic research, and we came home, and I was unloading the car, and Heather's like, "Jason, drop what you're doing, you gotta come here," and she had left the note, and it was about the first transplant here, and we were just floored, and lots of tears and excitement. And
doctors here at the University of Minnesota had started a treatment for EB. Dr. John Wagner is one of those doctors, and he was contacted by the Yorks.
This is in the earliest phases of being used in the treatment of these kids, and so much of it's being learned as we do it. But nonetheless, this family had particular strength to be able to say, yes, it's new, but we need to try something to change the course of this disease for our child. And despite the risks, although they were many, and they were quite clear what those risks were, they fundamentally truly believed that they had to do something.
Mason, Hannah's older brother, was a perfect match for a bone marrow transplant. That was the first hurdle for the family, but it was a big one.
You know, Mason's a smart kid and understood, and when he found out he was a match, he immediately said, "You mean I can save her life?" You know, and it really hit home for her and for him, and you know, he's been really strong through it all. He's your typical brother. They fight like cats and dogs at times, but he has a real compassionate side to him that's pretty amazing.
Compassionate indeed. I told Mason what his gift to Hannah meant, and here's his reaction.
Would it be okay for me to say something that adults don't usually say to children? Would you give me permission to say something? Okay, you're my hero.
Thanks.
Because you've done something that I don't even know I could do. You're very brave, and you're a very loving boy. Do you think of yourself that way? Do you? Do you like that girl sitting next to you?
When I told him about the article in the newspaper, I started reading it to him, and of course I was skipping over the parts that we had not discussed about the mortality rate and things like that. But I got halfway through it and he looked at me and he said, "You mean Hannah's gonna have skin like mine?" And he started crying. He was so excited.
Let me talk about your brother Mason for just a minute, okay? What do you think of him?
I think he was a great donor, and I think he's brave for doing my transplant.
Do you feel like you owe him anything?
$100.
That's about what I'd put it at. Maybe 75.
In reality, Hannah knows what a wonderful gift her brother has given her, and the bond is stronger than ever. And what about her parents?
Whenever I get more worried about a transplant, they just say that it's okay. It's just, I just love him very much.
When the Yorks left Fort Worth, Texas, and came to the university for Hannah's treatment, they came to Minnesota and became members of a new community, the one at the Ronald McDonald House.
You get very close to people, and you see, you know, the ups and downs. You know, you get close to people here, and some kids pass, and it's hard, and you're there to support them through those times. And it is a community, and people really tend to help each other out, and it's a support system that you don't necessarily have at home.
You know, at first I was thinking, you know, she's going to have this weakened immune system. Do we really want to go into a communal living situation? And what I found is that's one of the greatest assets, because you have people here that have been where you are. You have people that are going into where you've already been. And you know, just yesterday we visited a family in the hospital, and we've been where her daughter is. We've been there, we've seen it. And I bent down and I was talking to her daughter, and I said, you know, in a week, you're gonna feel so much better. And the mom just smiled at me and she's like, we need to hear that today.
Mason gave me his personal tour of the house, some of what it has to offer. He and Hannah treasure their memories here and love coming back to visit.
Take a shot.
That's so unfair.
This is a doggy biscuit, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, you're supposed to give that to Jerry? Mm-hmm. Supposed to give that to Jerry?
How good are they?
Just like French fried shrimp. You're not gonna eat that? Okay.
Pretty good.
Good.
Feels like biscuits with
Yeah. Try not to tell your mom and dad that you did that, okay? Just a secret between you and me, okay?
Those I love. They're like macaroni and cheese, but they're little shells.
Green.
It's cause the little paper.
Oh, the cellophane's green.
Yeah,
Okay.
paper. Yeah.
All right, that's green. Good. Rule number 1, don't eat macaroni that's turned green. Free of charge. Little advice. Did you like staying at the Ronald McDonald House?
Yep.
What'd you like about it?
I liked everything.
And what about Hannah's prognosis?
She's doing amazing. She's doing wonderful. She's, you know, she had her labs done earlier this week and they all look perfect, and, you know, she's just plugging along, doing great.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm going to be a scientist.
What are you going to study?
I'm going to study dinosaurs.
A scientist who studies dinosaurs, a paleontologist.
Yeah.
I'm sure someday we'll be reading about Hannah York and her most recent discovery in the field of paleontology. And thanks to the many gifts she's received in her lifelong journey, the gift of life and the gift of the Ronald McDonald House.